Numbers 12. Well, now that everyone's swimming in quail flesh and gorging on bird meat, and the people who don't like that have been executed by God, it sounds like this road trip can continue. But as with any road trip, there are always passengers who just really want to start a fight. And these passengers turn out to be very racist. Miriam and Aaron began to talk against Moses because of his Cushite wife, for he had married a Cushite. "Has the Lord spoken only through Moses?" they asked. "Hasn't he also spoken through us?" And the Lord heard this. This all sounds very silly, I know, until you realize Cushite is another word for black, specifically Ethiopian. So yeah, these people were like this back then too. By the way, in case you forgot, Miriam and Aaron are the siblings of Moses. So really, this whole chapter is like an episode of Succession with the kids all fighting to gain more power. Now, Moses was a very humble man. More humble than anyone else on the face of the earth. I don't know why that's in parentheses. It almost sounds like the Bible is trying to set the stage to defend Moses for this accusation against him. By the way, it has been said, and many Abrahamic religions believe, that Moses wrote the first 5 books of the Bible, which means Moses wrote this sentence. Which means Moses just tossed in a line about how he's the humblest man alive. Which is both very arrogant and kind of a baller move. I'm the best YouTuber on the planet. You know how I know that? This YouTube video said so. This one, right here. Same logic. We know that's not even true though. Moses is eventually going to sign a bunch of death warrants and command some very cruel things. But for now, he's just rewriting history before he writes it himself. At once, the Lord said to Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, "Come out to the tent of meeting, all 3 of you." So the 3 of them went out. Then the Lord came down in a pillar of cloud. He stood at the entrance to the tent and summoned Aaron and Miriam. When the 2 of them stepped forward, he said, "Listen to my words. When there is a prophet among you, I, the Lord, reveal myself to them in visions. I speak to them in dreams. But this is not true of my servant Moses. He is faithful in all my house. With him I speak face to face, clearly, and not in riddles. He sees the form of the Lord. Why then were you not afraid to speak against my servant Moses?" I like how 2 people were spreading a rumor, and God's trying to nip it in the bud immediately. "I heard your thoughts, now get over here." And like so many Christian pastors these days, God does not say, "Cool it with the racism." Instead, God says, "I like this guy, he's important, so stop saying bad things about him." Like, way to miss the more important point, God. Why not say, "It's none of your business who Moses is married to, and also, it's definitely my business to condemn you for your bigotry"? Why are so many Christian leaders so bad at calling out their own people? Also, why would God speak in riddles to anyone? That's not helpful. That's like Jesus speaking in parables. Just tell us what you want and stop playing around and making things more confusing. Did you catch how God says, "When there are prophets among you, I speak to them in their dreams, but when it's Moses, I speak face to face"? So God is admitting that speaking to people in dreams is not convincing at all. Even God knows he has to show up to be taken seriously, which contradicts so much of what you hear in churches. The anger of the Lord burned against them, and he left them. Oh, so we're just never resolving this racism thing, I see. When the cloud lifted from above the tent, Miriam's skin was leprous. It became as white as snow. Aaron turned toward her and saw that she had a defiling skin disease. And he said to Moses, "Please, my lord, I ask you not to hold against us the sin we have so foolishly committed. Do not let her be like a stillborn infant coming from its mother's womb with its flesh half eaten away." Not the imagery I would have gone with, but okay. It is deeply ironic that God punished Miriam's racism by making her whiter. How is she going to learn her lesson now? Though some people would argue that after Miriam complained about black skin, God found a way to make white skin way worse. So it could be more like poetic justice. So Moses cried out to the Lord, "Please, God, heal her." Well, that's nice of him. I don't think it counts as a punishment, though, if you only get leprosy for like 3 seconds. The Lord replied to Moses, "If her father had spit in her face, would she not have been in disgrace for 7 days? Confine her outside the camp for 7 days. After that, she can be brought back." So Miriam was confined outside the camp for 7 days. And the people did not move on till she was brought back. After that, the people left Hazeroth and encamped in the desert of Paran. I just want to point out that the beginning of this chapter had Miriam and Aaron complaining about Moses' black wife. But only Miriam had to pay a price for it, with leprosy. Because God might oppose racism, but he is totally fine with sexism. Why would a father spit on his daughter's face anyway? And if he did, why would she be in disgrace? Anyway, you know what's not in that passage? Anything saying God cured her leprosy. She was isolated for a week, but that's it. Now she's back and spreading leprosy to everyone, I guess. The normal quarantine period for leprosy, by the way, is 2 weeks, not 1. So congratulations to everyone who's about to get leprosy. That was a pretty harsh punishment, though. Not that Miriam was temporarily kicked out of the group for a week, but that everyone had to wait 7 days before they could move on. They were all punished for what she did, and you know they are all blaming her for their misery, just like God intended. At least they had quail while they waited. I will admit, I did not see this chapter coming. It's just a randomly inserted scene of your right-wing relatives at Thanksgiving dinner quietly whispering about your partner. And God's getting kind of angry with it. Not angry enough to punish a man, but angry enough to punish everyone and blame it on a woman. Classic Bible.